Yes, here we go. We are on air now, and good morning to everybody watching us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, maybe listening to us in Clubhouse as well. Thank you so very much for joining us on this Wednesday morning. It is February 19th already. We are in the second part of the month, and we are very happy to once again introduce to you a very special guest of ours who was here in the very beginning when we started this series of podcasts and when we were only audio broadcasting. So today we've got Jovan Rebolledo with us, and I'm going to tell you a few things about him. I believe that you probably already know him from LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So Jovan has been here for more than 25 years already. When I say here, I mean Japan. And he has been working in the field of AI research. Currently, he is an OIST researcher in neurocomputation. This is a field that I know very little, if anything, about. And it's something that is very I'm curious about as well, because it is neuroscience and computation and robotics, I believe, and also AI. So everything comes together, and it sounds like a big field to me. But we're going to hear from Jovan about it, I believe, a little bit later today. And of course, today we're going to talk about the Singularity University and how this university can accelerate Japan's AI leap to global impact, how we can do that. Before that, though, I want to say thank you very much to our first sponsor, and that is Kanchu at Kanagawa Chuo Jutaku. Once again, Kanchu at kanchu.com, and James Howell, who represents the company with, two languages, again, English and Japanese. So you can see on the screen that Kanchu works in buying and selling real estate in Yokohama. They do real estate investment, property management, and if you have any projects in this field or these fields, please reach out to James on LinkedIn or through his email, which is james@kanchu.com. So, and now, Jovan.
Let me just make one quick. So I just wanted to be clear. So Jovan, you've been in Japan 15 plus years, and if I heard you correctly, you've been researching AI for 25. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's amazing. 25 years. That was before anybody was talking about it, really.
Right.
Yes.
Nobody
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the correction, Tim. Great. And Jovan, yes, just let us know what your passion is now at this point of time, and yes, what we're going to learn from you today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very honored and happy to be here and to see you guys again. It's been a long time since we haven't talked, and I'm very happy to see you. And
really long time.
Obviously, yes. So I'm very happy also to have this opportunity. Thank you so much. So as you guys mentioned, I've been researching so many years AI, and I believe that that's my passion, really, to understand the way of how the brain operates and how we can translate that into mathematical modeling and simulations and ways of make algorithms for reasoning and adapting like the biological ways of the brain into ways of a computer to interact or to produce output. So that has been my passion for so many years. And it is still my passion. And related with that, I have had very amazing opportunities. Like one is to be interacting with the Singularity University since 2009, when it was funded by Ray Coswell and Peter Diamandis. And since then, I've been engaged in different ways with the Singularity University since I was very fortunate to be in 2009, as I mentioned, in the first inaugural class of the GSP, the Global Study Programs at that time. And it was a very amazing, like unbelievable program that I was so honored to be experiencing and be part of it. And since then, my mind became exponential, for saying that my mindset and the way of understanding the problems and how to construct the solutions based on exponential technologies. And I have been very fortunate to helped so many people and so many institutions and startups that have been benefited in understanding the importance of having an exponential mindset and also to apply exponential technologies in making the solutions and new products and new business models.
Yes, I remember that we talked about some of the initiatives of the Singularity University here in Japan when we were still audio only, an audio only podcast. And back then you also talked about the Singularity University. And honestly, I think that quite a few people, including me, in our audience, were not familiar with the name either of the Singularity University. And I wondered, could you please give us a little bit more information about these initiatives? So, what does the Singularity University do? And yes, is it where is it based? Right? Is it based in
Yes.
Europe? Is it based in the United States? Is it based in South America? Where is it?
Yes, yes, very good questions. Well, Singularity University was born in 2008 when Peter Diamandis and Ray Kurzweil came together and thought about how was supposed to be the university of the future. And maybe a little bit background of Peter Diamandis. He is the founder of X Prize, and X Prize is a very important organization that has made breakthroughs by doing competitions in solving amazing, very difficult problems. And Peter and Ray Kurzweil, it's maybe the most famous here in Japan. He is a futurist and AI. I think, now the label that he has, and I think is very good, is the oldest person who has been researching AI in the world. So he started when he was a child, trying to do a talking box, and he has created like many amazing algorithms for music and also for AI. He has worked in MIT, and also he currently works at Google. So he's part of the AI initiatives in Google for many years. He has been. So that's he wrote a book called "The Singularity is Near" in 2004, and in that book he predicted how the technology was going to be evolving year by year. Yes, and so imagine that you can say which technology is going to happen next year. So we don't know for sure, absolutely. But Ray Kurzweil could see the technology evolving since 2004 onto this year. He has a rate
Right.
of accuracy of more than 60%. Of 60% of the things that he thought in 2004 that were going to happen in 2025 happened. So that way makes a validation of
Impressive.
how he's very futurist and thinking forward and
Yeah.
understanding how technology evolves.
Right.
And I'm having the imagination to put it together, you know.
Yeah,
Peter Diamandis. Okay, okay. Thank
yes,
you.
Peter Diamandis. He is an amazing entrepreneur, and he has been a, how can I say, teaching informally Elon Musk, and Elon Musk has learned, I would say, several things from Peter Diamandis, and they both have been involved in the space. But it was, in my opinion, Peter Diamandis' effort to democratize the space industry, thanks to his vision, is now the push and the innovation and the facilities that are being built towards space stations. It was really, in my opinion, thanks to Peter Diamandis. He has been a very important person in many different fields, and he's still pushing forward, in many fields to create abundance in the world.
And where is the Singularity University based? Is it in the United States or is it in Europe?
Yeah, it's mostly in the United States. It has some offices in Silicon Valley, and I believe also in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And if I'm not wrong, also in Washington D.C. But this is the main kind of operations, like headquarters operations, as my understanding goes. But the most important thing about Singularity University is the network, and the network is almost in every country in Europe and in many countries in Latin America and several countries in Asia and Africa. So the network of these leaders in technology, leaders in the government, leaders in thinking forward and innovating entrepreneurs, those kind of leaders are the main network of Singularity University. So this is an amazing potential source of opportunities for many people, and that's why one of the reasons I believe Japan should be investing and thinking deeper in being involved with Singularity, because that way, by related networking, the power of the network and the people can really elevate and scale the impact of any Japanese person and any Japanese organization, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, yes, I can see what you're saying, but at the same time, I believe that for ordinary people, it's really difficult to connect these two things. How would that singularity, and all the innovations they introduce, they have, and the creations they have, the products, the technologies, how will they help individuals in Japan, become more efficient, more effective? Well, by changing their way of thinking, right? By changing their mindset. Because people are people, technology is technology. How do you bridge that?
Yeah, that's a very,
Is
very good question. Yeah, yeah. I see. I see. In my personal experience, I believe I have seen it. How you start thinking exponential is the mindset of seeing a potential solution in a way of deconstructing the problem, and from that deconstruction of the problem, understanding how technology evolves, how technology is in this state today. But if you understand that in 6 months, in 18 months, in 3 years, how it's going to be evolving, you can kind of ride on the tide like a surfing, and then just wait until the tide is good enough to start surfing. In that way, any person can benefit. For instance, thinking about the exponentiality of the fintech, for instance, people have taken a lot of efforts and also benefits from investing in bitcoins and Web3 technologies, for instance, since 2008, 2009. For instance, when we were students, we got bitcoins. Like at that time, in 2009, it was literally almost zero. So people got a few bitcoins as part of the present. And when you get a present that is like zero, like doesn't have any value, you say, okay, this is kind of crazy that you are giving me something that doesn't have any value. But when you start understanding that the exponentiality of things, exponentiality of the digital technologies, you realize that maybe this, now it's 2009, so I don't know if this is going to have any value or not, but let's see. And if you believe in the exponentiality, you wait until that happens. And as we have been seeing that, for instance, Bitcoin, how expensive it has become. So the people who kept the little present from Singularity University when they started being that students, they got a good price, a good benefit in the long term. But in that way, I think people can benefit just to understand the exponentiality of technologies and how it can benefit them individually, but more importantly, collectively in the organization, and how the organization can produce new solutions based on this forward thinking of understanding how the technologies we will evolve. So that's the main benefit, I believe, of
So
understanding. Mhm.
okay,
Yes.
so you're saying like step one is raising awareness through some kind of education so they understand the word you're using is the exponential nature of it. What I'm trying to understand is like if they have a presence in Japan,
Mhm.
what in concrete terms, what's the benefit? So, for example,
Mhm.
does a presence in Japan imply involvement from Japanese professionals in research? Does it mean more access to, the research that the university is doing? Like to me, the benefit would come from, as you said, raising the awareness so they understand what the benefit is. But if they don't get involved and interact with it, I think it's a loss on both sides. I think that's where the benefit would come through some kind of engagement with local Japanese resources, so they experience firsthand what it is. And just as a side note, I believe the Japanese excel at, and this is through manufacturing, forget AI, just tech, they excel at technology, interfacing, or maybe a better way to say it is harmonizing technology with humans. Like they were always really good at saying, what are humans really good at, and what is technology really good at, and can we marry those two together in this harmonious whole rather than either or separating the two. Anyway, those are just kind of my questions and comment.
Yeah, very, very good ones. Yes, absolutely. As we talked, maybe one of the first times about the robotics and how, in my opinion, Japanese society has an advantage of any other culture, even America, Europe, about the assimilation of robotics in
Yeah,
society, in the
right.
mindset.
I remember that.
So,
Yeah.
that's a very good example of how Japanese culture is by nature, I would say, more adapted and to the adoption of technologies. So in that way, I really believe that the opportunities for interacting with Singularity in a very short distance, I would say, here in Japan, for Japanese people and Japanese organizations, is there are many things. For instance, for companies, is access to Singularity's network of top global experts, startups, and investors, and also training in disruptive innovation and AI strategy and digital transformation, and exclusive partnership opportunities in global tech ecosystems. That's for companies. And for, we want to say, for instance, for sponsors and investors who would like to be part of the Singularity, is the brand association with a world-class innovation platform, the exposure to cutting-edge startups solving global challenges, and early access to exponential business models that outperform traditional markets. So this understanding of how technology is going to be evolving, and so they can better invest on those opportunities. So naturally, as we just mentioned, Japan is positioned to implement very good solutions and to make an impact. For personally, I see the opportunity is to scale the impact that a Japanese person or a Japanese organization can make in Japan and in the world. And I have seen examples. For instance, the company Gitai, which is a robotics company, who went through the process of becoming a Singularity University associated startup, and thanks to that, it became benefited and networked, and it started growing up and scaling, and now has a very strong position in robotics in the world. So from being a very small, just two people start up with a very basic proof of concept robot, it became one of the licensees of JAXA and NASA for doing robotics on the moon. So that's the transformation of startups that Japanese companies could have. That's a very good example, like a very, very good example of how a Japanese startup could become if it's related and it's working with the Singularity.
Okay, good. Just a random thought. Jovan, if you don't know, does Jovan know Joe Hug? I think I'd like to connect you with him if you don't, because you guys would, I think, have some interesting discussions. But sorry, just a quick comment.
I don't think I met this person not yet,
We'll
but I
try
would
to
be happy
connect
to.
you. He's been on here many times. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, so Dr. Joe Hug is one of our guest speakers, and he works well in the field of course, academia, but bridges very nicely business and academia. So
Yeah.
business studies and IT. Yeah, so hopefully.
And the stories of companies that overcame these hardships, and a lot of them are founders. He like studies them and researches them. And then he tells the story, and I can see AI introduction having a very similar story, But just one thing that kind of perked up my ears when you were talking, you used the word disruptive. And the reason that perked my ears up is right now in the Western capitalism, that's like a good thing. We're disrupting the industry. That means you're a new leader with a new method and it's going to change how the industry goes, right? And so a couple of years ago, I was translating, and it was like a, what do you call them? Like a infomercial, but it was not a video. It was just written, right? It was one of those adverts, right? And it was about these two entrepreneurs, and they had this new system, and everything they were describing in Japanese screamed of disruptive. So I translated it that, and it fit perfectly. And they came back, oh, we can't use that word. Their penchant for harmony didn't let them accept that word, because disruptive means you're going to commit meiwaku. You know, you're gonna commit trouble for other people in this, you know, collective, country that wants harmony, right? And so I often, just kind of a curious aside, but I wonder what the right word to use is in this context, you know.
Yes.
Disruptive just sounds so anti-harmony, you know.
I think I understand your point, and it's very valid. But I could try to see it from a different perspective. The word disruptive is more disrupting the chaos, disrupting the inequality, disrupting the poverty, disrupting the humanity problems.
Yeah.
I think if you see it like that, like try to break out these problems of humanity, I believe bringing solutions that are based on exponential technologies with an exponential mindset, building an exponential organization. In that way, the disruption makes a lot of sense. But another word could be is like scaling exponentially the impact.
Yes.
Scaling the impact.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I agree with you. Like, I totally understand your point of view, and I don't disagree. You're the expert and you're right. I'm just saying, how is that going to be viewed? And it may have been just that one incident with me. That's, it's a data point of one, so it doesn't mean anything. But it made me wonder, words are important, and I understand what that means now that you explained it. But I wonder if some people didn't, like in my case, they just didn't like the word, But scaling, exponential scaling is, I think everybody understands that now and wants to do it. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And we have the means, we have amazing AI right now that anyone really with just enough motivation could make a very good impact in Japan and in the world.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So, and then, well, to both points you made, you, Tim, and also Jovan, I think that there needs to be more communication when it comes to disruptiveness, when it comes to cultural values and everything, because Jovan, you explained very well how you see disruption, right? And it makes perfect sense. But still, if there isn't enough information about what it is and why it is out there, people may not accept it, they may not embrace it. So I believe that once again, just like many other things actually, and in the field of technology, communication is really important. So the way you communicate your ideas, the way you really have people buy into them. So
and the problem is linguistic, because sometimes we're using the same word. Like if you look in the dictionary, it tells you what that word means, but often there's still a gap in the meanings and nuances of those words, but we don't know. So we're almost like talking past each other. And so even sometimes you have to define very simple terms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
It is. It is a challenge, yes. Yeah. And so, Jovan, are there any companies in Japan or academic institutions that are already part of the network of the Singularity University? Or is it coming? Is this, something that is under development right now?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I would say like very few companies have been benefited, starting with the winners of the GIC, the Global Impact Challenge. and the winners from 2017, 2018, and 2019. So those winners have been benefited and have been related with Singularity all these years, and they, like I mentioned in the example, Gitai, has grown amazingly, exponentially, making an exponential impact. But those are the startups. But big corporations like Sony, for instance, has been related with Singularity since 2017, and Sony has, I believe, benefited in the way of changing the mindset of many executives to understand how digital technologies and digital transformation, but more especially exponential technologies, can make an impact in the world. So I have seen a correlation of the transformation of Sony and because of the relationship with Singularity. I cannot say that it's the reason why Sony has become so much better. But at least, yeah, I would say it is one of the reasons. That's an example. But at this moment, we are Singularity is looking for companies and institutions which would like to interact more deeply, to invest not just capital but also time and energy to develop the new solutions that could scale and could benefit Japan and the world. And that's why Singularity is looking for establishing here in Japan, and to look for ways in which many new stakeholders can interact and can become like a ecosystem here locally that can interact with the global ecosystem Singularity in the world.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I believe I just believe you need like concrete stories that illustrate in specific, measurable terms. AI was introduced. Here was the process. We made sure we went with the top executive first, made sure they bought into the values and the general parameters, and then we trained their people, and this is how they applied it. Like there needs to be like a story, something concrete, because I think a lot of people still don't quite know. Many people don't know the awesome potential of AI, because it could go in so many directions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone to focus them and show them the practical benefits that a company actually experienced and scaled,
Yes.
told in a story format. Do you have those kind of stories to
Yeah.
put out there? Because we'd love to have you on to hear specific stories. Even that, I think that
Yeah.
would be very
Yeah.
informative. Anyway, just some thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In Singularity, there have been many, I don't know exactly how many examples of how exponential technologies have created an amazing impact. For instance, the first company that introduced the sharing concept for cars, Get Around, that was a very innovative company. Now the company is having a lot of financial trouble, I believe, but they were very innovative at the time. Another company, a startup that was born also in Singularity University, was Matternet, which was the first company in using drones for delivering. And actually,
Yeah.
it has contracts with Switzerland, post office, in which they deliver things, and also with the Red Cross and other international organizations. And there have been cases like Be My Eyes, for instance, using the power of mobility of people, helping blind to understand the world around them. So Be My Eyes has been another example of how the easy usage of exponential technologies can make a real impact right away. And in Japan, we have the company like Itai, for instance, which I mentioned before. When I met Sean Nakanosu in 2016, he showed me very kindly the robot, and it was very simple. And he went through the GIC. He won the GIC. He went to the GSP in Singularity in California, and then there he met very important key people that put his product into the new way of seeing the technology. Like we advised him that his technology was better suited for space, and he was very coachable, and he understood that the opportunity, and he was in the right environment, meeting the right people because of the Singularity University. So this concept of robotics for space took a lot of inertia, and then there was a lot of momentum also that many people helped him. So that's how the power of network and the power of one of the strengths of Singularity is the connection and the network. So Gitai, the Japanese startup, is a very good example of how a startup in Japan can be benefited in having association, in having a close relationship with Singularity.
Right. Well, I have a couple of questions to follow up on this, but before that, I want to say thank you to our other sponsor, and that is Houze. You can find them online, of course, at houze.co.jp, and you can work with them in the custom home design and construction field, or also commercial building construction. So they respond to emails, and you can also connect with them by finding Hana Howell on LinkedIn, and you will also find her contact details in the description of the video on YouTube. So a big thank you to Houze for being our sponsor. It's always been a pleasure to have you with us here in the beginning and also at the end of the podcast. Now, Jovan, I would like to actually continue with the questions. So I see that basically the Singularity University is helping startups, mostly innovative startups and innovative individuals to develop their ideas and scale them later. And here in Japan, we have a lot of startups right now in Tokyo, in Fukuoka, I believe in some other parts of the country as well. So being a startup founder and having a startup is really a big thing now in Japan. It wasn't so until 2019, I believe. There were some talks and so on. But I think that eventually the Japanese government has also realized that it needs to support startups. And how do you think this could connect to setting up a campus of the Singularity University here in Japan?
Yes, I believe that having, thank you for the question. I have noticed also the number of startups popping up everywhere in Japan, and how the local governments, even small municipalities, they really are fomenting and they want this to happen more and more. And obviously, big cities like Tokyo, Osaka, they promote it even more aggressively, the support. So startups could be benefit directly in different ways. Firstly, I believe in a startup offers a solution for a problem. That's the main concept of starting to solve a problem that exists, and there's an opportunity. Therefore, there's a business model there. And by doing that, is possibly many of the startups now in Japan, they use technologies, and possibly many of those exponential technologies like AI, robotics, digital biology, etc. So what Singularity University could help right away is in understanding the solution part, for instance, how it could be scaled, how you can converge technologies. It means like not just AI robotics, but it could be AI and digital biology, or AI and drones, for instance, in combining 2, 3, or even 4 different technologies, in adding this exponentiality to the solution, even though maybe the technology is not so robust at this very moment. In the future it's going to be. So just to wait until the moment it comes that the solution could be so much cheaper, so much more accessible, and so much more impactful. So that way, that's the first one. The second one, which I believe is one of the most important one, is the network of not in the global network, not just in the United States, but also mostly in every country in the world, industrialized country, I would say. So also in developing countries in Latin America, Singularity has a lot of presence and very strong, for I would say, like devoted people to Singularity, which can help in expanding the startup to other frontiers, not just having a local market, but also to potentially going abroad. And that could be also a very interesting way in which startups could benefit. And another way could be also the network of investors and angels that could be are associated with Singularity and could be aware of these opportunities. So just a little parenthesis, I think in the Singularity network, there's a lot of attraction towards Japan, but they don't know how to, they don't
Right.
know people, they don't know the way to get into, in this case, for investors, for instance, to invest. So I think that could be maybe potentially a door to open for establishing a new channel. So getting Singularity in Japan a more established way, it would enable that. It would enable more participation and more understanding both sides, like a Singularity network about Japan and Japanese people, Japanese corporations, Japanese startups in benefited into this big network and the principles and the knowledge, I would say, to apply directly in the startup. That's I believe that could be the interaction and the benefit on both sides.
I feel like a huge challenge is most people, I think, are still not AI conversant. We hear the buzzwords, we hear people talk about, we hear the hype, we hear the debunking, and Maya and I, we have a connection. He's also been on the show a few times, Eric Fraser, and his whole thing is AI. And the reason I follow him, he's a very technical person, but he's very good at translating it into language that anybody can understand, any idiot, somebody with no background in AI or the sciences or programming or math. And I think we need more people like that because I think messaging is very important. I think the potential, I can see it just listening to you. It's huge. It's almost mind-boggling because it's just almost too much, and you need someone to curate what's important for you and guide you. So I could see that as a profession in the future. And of course, if it's Japan, now you got the cross-cultural, dimension as well to bridge those gaps. But I think those opportunities are, absolutely there. I think the storytelling and the translation of the
Mhm.
AI speak to regular language is also very important, just from a non-technical guy. That
Yeah,
perspective.
absolutely. I think you're completely right. I think as you have pointed before, like the language, the wording, the storytelling. The storytelling
Yeah.
is very important. It's very important in America. It's very important in Silicon Valley, and it's very important, therefore, in Singularity. So there are, for instance, people who attend the long training courses in California. They get at least 1 or 2 sessions of storytelling, and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
important it is to be that telling the importance of the story and conveying the impact and to be from a personal point of view to a more impactful society and humanity a way of doing things.
Yeah.
So I think that that's very very important, and absolutely right that these translators were saying, like people who understand how technologies work and how can be distilled into a very concrete, practical way of straightforward usage of technology into solving a problem or
Right.
having technology to do this, to do that. I think this is very important. I think that's one of the specialities of Singularity, in which we understand the different technologies. AI is one that has been evolving very, very quickly, but there are other technologies, the digital biology or robotics, drones, etc., like manufacturing that could make an impact also in the society. So there are experts in different technologies that can translate and make very easy to digest the usage of the technologies in practical ways. So that's the specialty, one of the specialties of Singularity, and I think also a Japanese society could benefit very enormously by having interaction with Singularity University people.
I think disaster response. I don't know how beneficial from a money standpoint it is, but it seems like there would be potentially great practical uses of AI within that disaster response context. And Maya, I was specifically thinking of Miles, right?
Yeah.
And when Jovan mentioned the drone delivery, I was thinking, wow, what if Miles, the bike scouts who get on site right away, they're actually on site, could be connected with AI through getting drones to proper locations in disaster. Like I'm just brainstorming when I listen to this, but it seems like just disaster response in general would be ripe for improvement. But I guess that would be a government contract, maybe, or I'm not sure. But has any thought or efforts been put into that field?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, in a matter of fact, when I came back from Singularity University when I did the GSP in
Yeah.
the summer of 2009. Summer, just uh, just think about September 2009. There was a United Nations University Global Seminar in Kobe, and my team, our team proposed a mobile-based communication system for making people safe. Just think about the date, September 2009. And those kind of solutions, we already were thinking about it. So as you mentioned very, very well, the government, that time, September 2009, the government was not interested. Therefore, there was not a solution implemented. But in that case, that was a lost opportunity. But it doesn't mean that is the only one that's going to be the last one.
Right. There'll be
In
more.
Could be more, absolutely.
There will be.
And for instance, there was a project that I was mentoring in which they use drones for providing electricity. So there's a simple cable that just connect different the cables with the drones, and they bring electricity to the place. So
Huh.
in that way also could be a very fast deployment of
Right.
resources
Yeah.
right away.
Right. Right. When roads are blocked and because I mean that's kind of what the bike scouts are. They're low tech solutions, but they use technology. You know what I mean? They have apps, and if you can marry technologies as an example to get food, drugs, whatever, water to places quickly when roads are down, that seems like
Yeah.
there'd be tremendous,
Yes, absolutely.
practical application
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, electricity is one of the most needed right away things that
Yeah,
people need in an emergency.
yeah,
So, for instance, that concept is very interesting to provide
interesting.
electricity right away. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
So I have also another question. So to me, it is clear now that the Singularity University is more like a network of, or well, let's say a network of companies, startups, investors, and maybe individuals as well, as individual investors or individual inventors. But so does it is called university, right? So are there any courses for people who want to learn? Because you said it's very important to know how to deconstruct the problem so that you can find a solution and build it back, right? So are there any courses? Are there any, I don't know, degrees maybe? Because when people hear the word university, they
Yeah,
imagine an academic institution.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. You're right. You're right.
Certification.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, yes, you're right. Singularity University started with that concept of providing the future education. Peter Diamandis and Ray Coswell sit down in Boston and they thought how was going to be the universities if I remember correctly, in 2080 or something like that. Like really thinking forward, and they believe that people don't have to have a master's or a PhD,
Right.
and technology could be absorbed very quickly. Maybe in a couple of hours, you could become one of the most experts in the world just by accessing the AIs that would be that time.
Mhm.
Um, and it was 2008 when they were thinking about that. So they structured the Singularity University as a way of fast learning, like hands-on, understanding of the exponentiality. And I was a student at Singularity University in 2009, and I've been faculty of Singularity University in 2014, 15, 16, and 17, 4 years. And I can see both sides as a student, as a faculty. And
Mm-hmm.
I can see how this approach of really fast learning and go deep as possible in a very narrow subject to solve a specific problem, it's very valuable. And and I think that's a very good concept. So that's the why university, the name was there. Nowadays, the name university is omitted because the singularity is the concept that Singularity University wants to keep, the way of how organizations can become exponential organizations. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't function or it doesn't provide the knowledge or the training that used to. Indeed, there are still executive programs, for instance, or tailored programs that the Singularity is providing for the students or for the people who go. Usually, they are like a top executive of different companies around the world who attend these seminars. And as my understanding goes, for instance, MIT copied the concept, and there are now similar programs like Singularity started back in 2009. So the executive program is one. The GSP is another one, which startup founders, entrepreneurs come and upgrade their solution and get connected with in the network. And these are the two main programs. The GSP is going to happen, I believe, next year. The executive programs happen constantly, but there's another tailored program like companies can work together closely with Singularity to transform rapidly the organization. So that's another way in which companies, big organizations, can benefit interacting with Singularity. So the Singularity University as a concept might come in the future again. Again, from the same umbrella brand of Singularity with the expert of strong Singularity, but that's conversation that might be happening in the near future. But meanwhile, the Singularity offers this kind of training and organizational transformations for different companies around the world.
So you're, in a sense, acting as consultants who educate your clients, but they're paying you a fee, I assume a set fee for some of these training programs. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's how Singularity operates
Okay.
basically.
It's like a consulting company almost.
Yeah. If you can
Association.
translate it, yeah, you can translate it like that. Yes. So here in
Okay.
Japan, there's nothing, and that's why I am part of this pushing through towards the establishment of Singularity presence here in Japan. And
Okay.
I am a pro bonus now. I'm not getting paid at all, but so far by Singularity, but just to be very transparent. So the importance of Singularity here in Japan is enormous, and I believe that it could be a very impactful relationship both ways, from Japan to Singularity and from Singularity to Japan. And
Right.
Japanese people and Japanese organizations, Japanese startups, and Japanese government even.
Right. Yes. No, that's interesting to me. But also, once again, I think that, as you mentioned, there is a lot of potential here. And maybe starting with two, let's say, different paths. One of them is the startups, because, well, the startup system is really very active at the moment, not only in Tokyo, but also in other parts of Japan. And maybe also working with the, let's say, related agencies of the government, approaching them shouldn't be a problem, at least,
Yeah,
because
just get some introductions and
yeah,
we're
Yeah.
here to help.
Thank you
yes,
so much. That would be absolutely amazing. Thank you. I would appreciate it so much. And I really believe that I mentioned government that I hadn't mentioned all until very few moments ago. And there are some instances of governments in Europe and governments in Latin America and governments in Africa that have worked closely with Singularity and that have benefited a lot and that have been transformed so much. So the opportunities for the government is really, really huge as well. And foresee some kind of interesting, very good relationship for scaling the benefits of and the impact of governments here in Japan, if there is a relationship with Singularity as well.
Right, yes. Because I don't believe that the government itself will reach out, but if representatives of the Singularity University reach out to the government, that would be, the beginning of talks and discussions and so on. Yes. Okay. And Tim, would you like to comment on Keisan's?
Yeah, well, Keisan, thank you so much. Yes, you are absolutely correct. She's saying the word disruptive is translated as hakai, right, in the Japanese, in the
Yes.
business environment, right? And
Yes.
again, I was going from Japanese to English, right? And they didn't use hakai in Japanese. But in English, disruptive is the new buzzword, right? And it has a good news. And they were advertising in the U.S. market. So I thought for the U.S. market, it would be appropriate, but absolutely. What Kay said, she says, Bappo encompasses the concepts of fundamentally rethinking and connecting issues from their core. It literally translates to pulling out the roots, right? Perfect. That's it's a very Japanese nature-inspired metaphor, kind of like Nemawashi, same, trim, dig it up around the roots to make a change, right? So thank you, Kay. That's very nice little language lesson. So I appreciate you jumping in and helping us out.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And also, I wonder, there is a question here from Facebook coming from Hiroaki, and I don't know whether it is actually something that we can answer here, but the question is, Jovan, okay, when will Walt Disney World go to digitalization magic? Which is the opposite, right? What kind of AI talents and infrastructure are needed to prepare?
Huh. Yeah, well, I'm not very familiar with Disney, but there's a
Right.
concept that Arthur C. Clarke famously mentioned, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that's a
Okay.
very
Right.
powerful site,
Yeah.
a quote. And I believe that any technology that is very well advanced, and if you haven't heard before, you could think that it's magic.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah.
It's all
So
magic to me now. This is magic, what we're doing right now to me. So,
yes.
yeah.
And the work of Arthur C. Clarke, I love it so much.
Yeah.
But
Arthur C. Clarke, classic.
so I understand how I understand Disney, like they are promoting this kind of magic experience. I don't know, but I believe that also Disney is working in robotics and AI. So they are working. I have a friend who was the lead. I met her in Singularity, by the way. She was the leader of the Imagineers, this group of engineers inside Disney, who made from the rides of Disney to the technology, like the little robots of Star Wars or something like that. So I know that there's some very amazing people working in technology there in Disney, and I believe that this thing could happen. This leapfrog, which this is a very important language that I would like to very briefly touch. The leapfrogging is a very good concept because any company can leapfrog from the current state to a very innovative state. And not just a company, also a country, even a person, just by applying certain principles. So in companies, for instance, in governments, in countries, applying certain technologies. A very specific case, for instance, in Kenya, they leapfrog how to transport some things to other things. They have a very amazing apps that you can transform from. You can ask to deliver just a cup of coffee to deliver a complete house, and it's amazing anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So it's something that here in Japan we don't have, for instance. So they leapfrogged the developed countries. So in this way, the leapfrogging is very important concept that should be understood, because it's not that the company is lacking in AI and it's going to be lacking forever. If you have the spirit, you have the innovation spirit, and also the motivation for making an impact, your company can leapfrog and jump from
Right.
the current state that is lacking to a very innovative state, by applying certain principles and certain technologies to make better solutions.
And
Yeah.
it implies there's no finish line, and that it is an ongoing process forever and ever, kind of, you know. That's it's kind
Yeah.
of fixed into that
Yeah,
concept. So yeah, I
yeah,
like it.
Yeah.
yeah, and one more thing is like, this concept of AI, like who is gonna be the leader of AI and is gonna take over the world. It doesn't bother me, but I think it's not very well seen. From my point of view, the AI development and advancement, it's not a zero sum game. Everybody
Right.
benefits every time there is an outbreak, and it's a new technology or a new algorithm in AI. Everybody, the humanity benefits. It's not just one company, it's not just one country, but as we saw very recently, in DeepSeek, the algorithm from China,
Right.
how it leapfrogged a little
Right.
bit what OpenAI was doing.
Yeah.
But it's not that, now China is going to be the winner of AI and everybody
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
doomed. It's not like that. It's like everybody, we all together benefit every time there is a breakthrough in AI.
Yeah.
So that's a very important thing. And it's very connected with the leapfrog, because if you can use a breakthrough right away, into the solution, you can leapfrog very
Yeah.
quickly. And these leapfrogs,
Yeah.
continue leapfrogs gets a better, more innovation, more output scaling, and more impact in the world.
Yeah, I really like this part because it once again shows that why we were using physical resources and physical development. I mean, development in the physical environment. When I say we, so basically different countries had the power to go forward without actually providing many benefits to other countries, right? So that's why we had developing countries and developed countries and everything. And now with the digital technology and AI and everything, this we have actually gotten beyond these limitations. And it doesn't matter which part of the world you live in, if you have the I'm not saying the ability, if you have the willingness to dedicate resources and time and energy to learning, basically you can leapfrog countries that have been into the field for much longer than you have, right? And this is I think one of the fascinations I find with the digital technology and digitalization and AI, because it almost provides equal opportunities to everybody.
Yeah, you
And
still got to deal with the computing power
yes,
requirements and
yes.
the energy requirements. And
Hmm.
if there's, to me, that seems like a potential bottleneck.
Hmm.
And maybe that's where the breakthrough comes in. Because my understanding of DeepSeek, for example, was they did it a lot cheaper. Yeah, the model was really good, but they did it for much cheaper than everybody thought they could. And then there was some controversy about that. But to me, that isn't that the constraint? If there is one, it's the energy requirements and the available chips computing power. Am I oversimplifying it?
Yeah, well, basically, yes. Now, how the LLMs work is based on amount of data, accumulation of huge databases.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly, that's one route of getting into better AI.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
yeah,
I wanted to say that this is just a problem, a problem at this point of time, and
Right, right, right,
this
right.
problem is going to be solved very soon because the future is faster than you think, right?
Let's
So
hope
I'm
so.
using
Yeah,
the
yeah,
title of the book, right?
yeah, yeah.
So and once again, problems, we tend to think that problems are kind of end of the road. They're the end of the road, and basically they're not. Once you resolve that problem, you leap over it, you go over it, and you're off to a new start. And that problem is not a problem. And once again, I'm talking about the huge energy necessary to computing power and so on, which at this point of time is probably a problem for some, or issue for some, but it's going to disappear pretty soon, I
Yeah.
believe.
As an IE guy, industrial engineer, I was trained to look at constraints because that's where you focus
Yeah.
on improving on the constraint, right? The
Oh, yeah.
bottleneck.
And you
Right,
have
right,
to focus. You have to focus on them because they need resolutions. They need
That's the high
solutions.
impact stuff.
Yes, yes.
Right.
So, but they are not the end of the road. They are just the
No.
stepstones.
They're
That's
right.
my point. Is yes, they're
They're
the
the
stepstones.
motivation.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Indeed. Peter Diamandis often says the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest business opportunities.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
yes.
That's how you have to
you can
look at it.
exactly
Yeah.
yes.
Opportunities
Yes.
for improvement. That's what
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
how you view it,
Yeah,
right?
it could be business, like a huge business opportunities as well. So it depends how you see the problem and how you see
Yes,
it.
indeed.
That's why Toyota doesn't like to use the word problem. They like
Yeah,
challenge. They like
challenge.
to use the word
Yeah.
challenges, right?
Yes.
And you're not allowed to say no problem. They go, you have no problems. That's a problem. You go find a problem. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Well.
Yes.
Well, we're just 2 minutes past 9 o'clock,
Oh man,
and
this was fun.
yes,
Thank you for coming on, Jovan. I'm so glad I finally got to see your face, match the voice.
Yeah, thank you.
again,
Yes.
to talk with you again and see your
Yeah,
face
yeah.
eventually.
So
Well,
now we know
you.
you were not an AI bot. We know
That's
that
true.
now.
yes,
Well,
we don't know that actually. It could be an
Oh,
avatar.
it could be. This could be all
exactly.
virtual. Oh yeah.
Maybe I
Yeah.
am a 2045 version of Avatar.
Yes. Yes. Well, Jovan, once again, I'm very happy that you came as a guest speaker. And once again, if we can be of any help, about spreading the world, not the world, and the
The
word.
word. Right, the word.
Spreading
Yeah.
the word, yes, we'll be very happy to do that. Please let us know if there is any way for us to assist you. And for everybody who watched us, thank you very much for being with us and for contributing. Kei-san, thank you very much for help
Thank you
the
for the
linguistics.
language
Yes,
lesson. We appreciate
Yes.
that.
yes,
That was very good.
Yes, just a last point that I would like to say is
yes,
that like Singularity people in America are very interested in having a very established presence here in Japan, and starting with the GIC, the Global Impact Competition, which help,
right.
for instance, companies like Itai. So if anybody is interested, willing to collaborate, being a stakeholder and so on, please reach us, and we'll be happy to connect.
I think you should put up a post on LinkedIn to that.
Yes.
Yes.
Just to see what kind of. I think you'll get a lot of responses, and I'll tag like Eric and some of the people I know.
Right. Yes.
And just a silly little thing. I'm surprised that no Japanese company has started a AI company called iChan AI. Right? It sounds like something that should exist. It's got that friendly sound to it, but that's
Or
pretty
yes. Sorry, Tim, I think that I came across something like AI.com or AI.jp or something like that. And but I may be mistaken. And I thought it makes a lot of sense because of iChan, right? Just what you said. But I don't know, we probably have to do a little bit more research to see what exactly is out
Maybe
there.
there is a company with that name. I don't know.
Yes,
It sounds so cute. It
Cute.
sounds cute and
Yes.
not scary like AI.
Yes.
So,
Indeed.
so marketing.
Yeah. Well, great, really. And
this
once
was
again,
fun.
yes, Giovanni, it was a pleasure having you with us. We would love to have you again when your schedule
Thank
allows.
you.
Yes. And again, to everybody who is with us now or will be with us later, happy midweek and a happy remainder of the week as well. Now it's time for another shout out to our sponsors. Wonderful sponsors. Here we go.